The Steiger family didn't invent the four-wheel drive tractor, but they played an important role as innovators and pioneers in the industry. During the winter of 1957, brothers Douglass and Maurice Steiger, along with their father, designed and built their first four-wheel drive tractor in a barn at their farm in Red Lake Falls, Minnesota.
Oh, you always dream about it, that it's going to succeed. I never imagined it would get as large as it did. But I did tell my 6th grade school teacher I was going to build machinery and ship it around the world. I guess we succeeded. We built 109 tractors, including the several industrial models, 1250s, 1700s, 2200s, 3300s, and several loggers that were sold out in eastern Minnesota and all the way out into Maine. So there's 109 on our register. Oh, wouldn't anybody that was built a unit out of a farm shop has a certain amount of pride, and I think the pride has stayed through the crew, through the farm crew, and all the way into Steiger. They were painted that color so they wouldn't hide in the grass.
My dad, my brother, and I built this tractor in the winter of 1957 and 58. The basic reason we built it was a few prior years to building this tractor we had some disaster with our farming operation, and things were starting to get tight. A lot like maybe nowadays for the average farmer. Well, anyway, we had looked at buying a Wagner tractor that was basically a logging machine that they started selling for farming. They were very expensive. And at the time we went into the bank, the local bank up there, to finance this other type tractor. We told them we thought we could build one for probably $8,000–9,000 versus the $22,000 cost to buy one. And would you believe that the banker suggested that we build one? So we started in November making our plans, and by April this is what came out of the shop. And you'll notice that it had no steering wheel. It was steered with a hydraulic like a tiller stick, and it's equipped with Dart planetary truck axles, Detroit 210 horse two-cycle engine. And really what it did for us, we were only farming about 1,200 acres back then, but my dad was able to do all the plowing, cultivating, and field work, and that left Maurice, my brother, and I free to go out and do custom ditching, corn picking, and corn chopping, which upped our income, and it finally got us going so that in a matter of few years we started building more units similar to this one here, and gradually it did expand our farm to about a 5,000 acre farm. Of course, in the meantime we had built some newer models with new Clark axles, and before the large four-wheel drive, power was a problem as far as trying to expand the farm. And I don't believe we realized, or maybe very many farmers realized, that once you had enough power, it made really almost acreage, no limit. You could farm almost any size you wanted to. The years before, Maurice and Dad and I all were on tractors plowing. And after we built this tractor, Dad done the plowing alone. So it really replaced a couple men, which was important.
I joined the company as Chairman and Chief Executive Officer November 1st of that year, 1970. And as Len Odie has said, problems are opportunities. We were presented with a lot of opportunities. In 1969, the management of Steiger rented a building from Fargo Tank. This building was a small frame building with a brick office annex. It was there that the first tractors were built in Fargo, and there were approximately 100 people employed there in 1969 and 70. So the second place we manufactured tractors was in the old Schultz and Lindsay shops, and that started right here at this corner over here. We had a very large fenced-in property for storage of tractors. In fact, when we first took over the property, we had hen pheasants laying eggs on the west end of that property, and there were no other buildings around here. The building that is now the Product Development Center was our third home for production of Steiger tractors. It was, at the time we took it over, filled with auto glass, and this had to be removed, and our machinery was put in place. It provided 30,000 square feet of very fine manufacturing and office space, and it was really an ideal situation for the size of the company at that time. In the middle of May of 1974, we had a board meeting. All our directors were here when we broke ground for this new plant. It was a very exciting event. The plant was to be the most modern tractor plant in the country, and we had an excellent contractor to build it, and the work went very smoothly in the building of that plant, and we were producing tractors less than a year after we started building it.
Well, it starts with a hard-pulling, powerful machine, a big, tough tractor with a look that's clean, with a bright green finish and a comfortable ride, and it all adds up to four-wheel pride. Yeah, four-wheel pride is a state of mind that you get when you buy the best you can find, and when you get yourself a Steiger, I think you'll say you got the best darn tractor that's built today. It takes a big, tough Steiger to give you four-wheel pride.
The takeover of Steiger by Tenneco is now complete. This is the first Case IH tractor to be produced at the Fargo plant. This is the Case 9130, which is equivalent to the Steiger Wildcat. You can buy this 220 horsepower tractor for $88,000. It's one of 12 tractors Steiger will produce. Half of them will be the red Case models. The others will be the old green Steiger models.
This tractor is available to 4 to 5 times the number of dealers that Steiger had alone. That means more salesmen pushing the product. That means more sales. That means more production, and generally implies good things for Fargo in the future.
Case officials were delighted to show off their tractor today, but would not say how many they'll produce. The key, though, is selling them, and demand for farm machinery has been slow. What makes this tractor so special in your opinion?
I think just the capability of it in terms of the size and the markets that it can handle that our current four-wheel drive tractors cannot handle. It can do a better job in row crop areas and in some of the other agriculture areas around the country.
At Steiger, this is the start of a new era, an era everyone here hopes will be on the upswing.
Here's one of the early Steiger tractors built by the Steiger brothers. These tractors were the beginning of a powerful new breed of farm tractors. These early tractors were so tough, many are still doing a great job in the field today, bringing new efficiency to wheat farming, providing power for deep tillage, pulling bigger, heavier implements through dusty, hard-packed desert land, replacing slow-moving crawlers on steep Palouse hillsides, and in rice fields, maintaining the traction and flotation for the muddy job of water leveling, and meeting the challenge of negotiating the ridges and ditches also encountered in rice fields. A beautiful example of the importance of the Steiger tractor's center oscillation. Steiger tractors brought a new concept of power to agriculture, often pulling several implements at once, saving time and reducing compaction. Yes, over the years, Steiger tractors have worked many millions of hours over rough terrain on tough farm jobs.
Our land was independently owned, but we used the equipment jointly and farmed together. We go to the local banker, E.O. Peterson, and presented it this way that, I thought we could build a tractor for about $10,000, and it'd take $24,000 probably to buy this Wagner. And we asked him what he thought we should do, and he said, well, I'll borrow the money to pretty much go either way, but he says, I think you should try to build one.
I drove up there and I met Douglass and Maurice, and actually I was in my early 30s and I think they were in their late 20s. And that's just what I saw. They had done, and they had a pretty nice design to it, and I was impressed with them and their enthusiasm.
I don't think even at that point we ever thought we'd really seriously get into the tractor business.
A month later, Doug Steiger came up in front of our store at Elk, Minnesota, and he said, started visiting with me, he said, did you really mean that about a production tractor? And I said, yes, I do. I think you have a sense of design and enthusiasm, and well, he just looked at me and said, well, if we build them, will you sell them? And we shook hands on it.
I don't know how these people from the group that bought in, happened to get together. It must have been just another process that was supposed to happen to create a tractor company. So they went and got a hold of Les Melrow. And I thought he had put in around $1 million, but I see in some reports it's $750. It doesn't make a difference. It's a fairly large sum of money. So then he became chairman of the board and gradually took over our position as the guaranteers. It gave us some relief. Then I could concentrate on other things, farming and whatever.
In the spring of 1968, my father went up to Red Lake Falls, and he knew Doug and Maurice, and he went up and bought his Steiger, which was a 1700, right on the farm, and he was prouder than punch himself. He drove it all the way home. And so we had one of the first tractors in the neighborhood. The 1700 that we ran, when Steiger first incorporated it, Father, and I didn't remember this, but Father told me they drove it into Fargo and measured it up to see if they should start making some of those tractors there. And they found it was just too well built. That thing was built like a tank. That thing will last lifetimes. Well, it didn't take them long to figure out they couldn't make a tractor that heavy, so they came out with the Wildcat Bearcat series. And which were still heavy, but not as heavy as that old tractor.
With rising interest rates and hardships in the farming community in the 70s, financial troubles hit many ag-based companies, including Steiger.
So he calls, he said, Erling Falk happened to be up there, so of course Ken McIntyre was close. He called and he said, there's a quorum here, we'll have a board meeting. So he called a board meeting, and as soon as he called the board meeting, he said, what's going on here? And Bob Kelly says, we'll have to file 7. We're out of cash, we're out of money. And at that point then Les brought in Gene Dahl. And there's a lot of credit owed to Gene Dahl. He took the risk of backing it further.
The first day I was at work. There was a semi-load of Caterpillar engines came in to power these tractors that had already been sold. But they couldn't ship them because they didn't have engines. There was a shortage of cash to buy the engines, so I also had gotten some money out of the sale of Melrose, so I invested in these engines. And then they were able to make the sales, and the profits came in.